All right. Can we do a show? Or at least whatever this is going to be? It can't be done until we start. This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. Get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/PCPer and enter code PCPer. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 466, being recorded on, September 6th. 2017. Is it really just the 6th? It is. Yeah. Okay. September 6th, 2017.
Are you ready?
I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Josh Walrath because Jeremy Hellstrom's not here.
Correct.
I'm Alan Malventano.
And then that's it. That's it. We got Alex and
people
Ken and Jim and people on the other side of the cameras. Well, I guess they actually have a camera technically pointed at them.
Jim's in the isolation booth over there.
There's something about the side view camera that is not great.
Not appealing.
It's not it's not a great solution, really.
Well,
do we have anyone we have any cameras pointed at Jim back there with his headphones on?
We can.
We don't know. I'm not saying we need to. It's just a question. We have cameras all over.
Currently.
Just curious.
So we can play with the side view camera for next podcast.
There he is.
There he is.
Hi, Jim.
All right, go back to your hole, Jim. Back, Jim. Back. All right. So welcome to the show, everybody. We talk about computer hardware sometimes. Other things, other times. We're doing it on a weekly basis at PCPer.com/live, actually, is where we record it. So PCPer.com/podcast, that's where you go find the show notes. If you want to see the links to the stories we talk about, you can find them there. Even our hardware software picks of the week, those links are going to be found at PCPer.com/podcast. Right, Alan?
Yeah.
Always, every week, without fail.
Yeah.
And then we if you want to watch us do the show live, we do that at PCPer.com/live. Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. If you need a little notification, a little reminder of us, so you want a little nudge if you happen to be free on that Wednesday night, you can go to PCPer.com/subscribe. You get this page here that shows our webpage and asks you for name and email address, and I will just send you an email. Sometimes it's 40 minutes before, sometimes it's 2 hours before. It just depends on what I'm doing in the interim right before the podcast begins. So appreciate everybody for that. Also, we do other live streaming events every once in a while, so this is how you get notified of those if you don't follow me on Twitter or something to that effect. And we do have our Patreon campaign continuing at patreon.com/PCPer. This is your place to have a monthly recurring contribution to the site. Goes directly to us and all the editors and stuff, and it allows us to do stuff with us, the podcast, the mailbag that we do now, the PCPer plays, all these extra things that we are kind of adding up into are more or less a direct result of this. And of course, as we have done for the last long time, if you are a new patron, then or you're increasing your patronage, you get a call out on the show live. The first call out goes to Kate Wolf, who's asking why the IRC is down and that we're not out of sync on Twitch, but the IRC is not down. I don't know if you're having a different connectivity issue, Kate. Sorry. But we do have a pledge editing from $6.99 up to $12.47. Right? So that's excellent from Coil Wine. And that's COYLEWINE. Coil Wine edited their pledge from I approve of that.
Is the number significant in relation to
1247? I don't know the answer to that. 1247, is that a significant nerd number in any capacity that anybody knows?
For coil wine?
I don't think for coil wine at all. Is 1247 the base clock of some GPU? Maybe that's I don't know the answer to that.
Maybe it's going at 1247 FPS at the loading screen. We
also have Poopaloop edited their pledge from $3 to $5, and we thank you very much for that, Mr. Loop. If that's your father, I'll just call you Poop.
Kate Wolf is Xmas in the chat.
So now they're in the chat. Kate is in there.
No, that's,
so
that's Xmas.
Yes. No, I knew that. I just, you know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yes. And now she's in the chat, so everything's good. So what else? We have if you're still catching up, you're still new. We do these mailbags now on a weekly basis. I guess I'm going to record one of these tomorrow. This is me sitting at my desk. Sometimes somebody's sitting behind me. Sometimes they're not. And answer your questions that you leave in the comment sections of these particular YouTube videos. So and we're posting them on the front page of PCPer now as well, so you can see lists of questions here, and we go through I don't know how many we get through on a week, maybe 7, 8 or something like that in that 25-minute time span.
Yeah.
So those are cool. Those are getting a lot of good feedback. And then of course we have really, I think this is clearly the best place to look at that tease at the beginning of that. Our PCPer plays, we did RollerCoaster Tycoon this week.
Yeah, we did.
From 1999. Ken played this, and the good thing about this is that if you watch it to the end, we were in fact able to murder park attendees.
Lots of people.
A couple of times.
Several times before they stopped getting on the ride. So this is fun. This is just basically us for an hour or so sitting down and playing some old games. Like I said, this time it was RollerCoaster Tycoon from 1999, by the way. What was the previous game? Lords of the Realm 2? Is that what you guys played? I wasn't here for that one, but interesting stuff. So if you want to see some old school RollerCoaster Tycoon and maybe find yourself being reattached to it, and like maybe like Ken, or you feel like, oh man, if I allowed myself, I would play this for way too long. That's where we were at with that. So let's jump into the stuff that happened this week. We've got a couple of things right off the bat we're going to talk about. We're going to run through them quickly, starting with the ECS Z270 lightsaber and Z270 H4i motherboard reviews. These are from Sebastian. So these are two ECS boards. The lightsaber, the one on the right, clearly is the biggest. It resembles the lightsaber the most of these two boards, maybe. And then on the left, you've got the Z270 H4i, the Mini ITX variant with the I mean,
it's got the antenna, you know.
No, but the one on the right is the lightsaber.
Well, yeah.
The one on the left. Also, probably not a coincidence, the lightsaber model not available for sale in the U.S. Maybe due to some terminology, some trademarks, some other issues. This is not a Disney branded.
Why would you pick that name for your product?
Well, it's just, if you sell this board in China, chances are nobody's going to care. Right?
Okay.
The Chinese aren't going to. Let's put it this way. The Chinese aren't usually really interested in enforcing copyright law from U.S. customers. So there's that.
I'm sure it is.
I don't know the answer to that.
It's got to be.
I mean, yeah, I would assume it would have to be, but maybe not. I don't know. So these are Z270 boards. This is Skylake Z Core i7 7000s, or these still take Skylake parts as well. Is that say LEET? Is that what that is? LEET? Yeah,
It would appear so.
Okay. All right, they're stretching me thin on trying to find ways to really complement this design with the lightsaber name and the elite handshake. That's what it looks like to me, right? Is that two fists bumping or something?
It's supposed to be like a mask, like a ninja mask.
You think that's a ninja mask? They got their eyes, one eye is lower than the other.
Well, that's just natural.
Hey, it looks like one of those chips in the back of a credit card.
The world may never know. So the lightsaber board is a regular ATX board, 6th and 7th gen, 14-phase design on the power, 100% solid cap, dual channel DDR4, all the standard stuff you'd expect there. 3 PCI Express by 16 slots, 8, 8, and 4. Although the 4 comes from the chipset, not from the processor. Obviously, supports AMD Crossfire. Does not mention SLI in there, so keep that in mind. 1 M.2 slot at PCI by 4, 1 U.2 port as well, and 6 SATA ports on it. The Mini ITX form factor board, the Z270 H4i, 6-phase power, 1 PCI Express by 16 slot, 1 M.2 slot for Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, right? And then it also has an M.2 slot that supports 2242 and 2280 SSDs, and it does support Intel Optane. I don't think this board up here mentioned that, but I'm going to assume that it does. It does support Intel Optane technology.
Cool.
Yep, 4 SATA 3 ports on that particular board. Now the pricing on these is pretty good. The Mini ITX board is $109 on Newegg. For a Mini ITX board, that's pretty good actually.
For which generation again?
This is Z270.
Shoot.
Yeah, for modern Kaby Lake.
That's pretty darn good. Yeah.
But now the lightsaber board has an MSRP of $199, but as Sebastian noted, no current Amazon or Newegg listings in the US. You can go figure out why on your own, I guess. Pretty standard design here in terms of look and style. Black PCB. You've got your giant red start button. That's yeah. There's your U.2 port. Where's our M.2 on this? Here you go. Between the second and third PCIe by 16 slots. Nothing really kind of stands out of the ordinary here. I think the U.2 port is an interesting inclusion on a fairly low-cost board offering. Still don't see many hardware, storage solutions even utilizing this. But
actually,
yeah.
Since there's only like really one.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Bigger failure.
What?
U.2 SATA Express.
SATA Express.
We literally saw no drives released with SATA Express.
I mean,
right?
U.2, at least if you have that port, you can just get the cord to go to the regular style, like 2.5-inch form factor.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But SATA Express.
At least SATA Express ports on a motherboard fell back to 2 SATA ports.
Yeah.
This U.2 port falls back to jack all.
Yeah. I mean, the sad thing about the SATA Express is you only got 2 lanes of PCI Express.
Yeah.
And it was almost immediately eclipsed by the M.2 stuff.
Yeah.
Because that just went straight to by 4, and it was just like, why bother with the,
Yep, agreed. Mini ITX board, not much to look at here either. It's all about function over form. The M.2 port is, or M.2 connection is on the back. Looks like that supports up the full size M.2. I think 2280 is what it was. Yeah. Dual NIC, right? So there's an Intel and a Realtek Gigabit NIC on there. A lot of Mini ITX motherboards tend to have that feature and capability. Is that for it to act as a server of some kind?
Media server, I think. Yeah.
And plus it's got the wireless connectivity as well. So a good combination of Wi-Fi and wired.
Dual NIC on that board, and it's $109. Like that's
it's
a lot of stuff jammed in there for $109.
We've got some benchmarks here. Guess what? They're pretty much the same when you use the same processors and memory and stuff.
Well, yeah.
The PC Mark 8 one has a little bit of variance there, but this PC Mark 8, so
within the margin.
There's questions. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess they are kind of within that same margin too. Overclocking capability, nothing fantastic. Although even on the Mini ITX board, Sebastian was able to hit a solid 4.5 gigahertz on all cores. But nothing past that. So there is that to deal with. And there's storage performance he's gotten here. Nothing. Let's see. He used a Samsung SM961. Got 32 megs per second. 3,200 megabytes per second reads and 1,500 megabytes per second writes on the 256. That's a typo. Gigabyte Samsung SM961. Sebastian, if you're listening.
I don't know. It is Sebastian. He could have a 256 meg
SM961 drive. Maybe. Yeah. You never. Yeah. It's true. It's probably water cooled too. So he goes through all of his impressions of using it, going through the BIOS, that type of stuff. The conclusion basically being that the Mini ITX board got a gold award because of its excellent performance. He said it had decent reliability as well, but the price of $109 is really compelling. And then not being able to find the Z270 lightsaber for sale is kind of a bummer there. But you can see this picture here of the ECS Mini ITX board with that cryo-rig. What the hell's the name of that cooler? I can't remember the name of that cooler. Low profile cooler. It's a pretty nice little package of compute as well. So check out that review. Very small people behind it.
That's why you had a kid. Right.
Small kid hides behind them. No, that's not how you have a kid, but it might be why. Those Wi-Fi antennas got to be used for something. So check out that review. That is the Z270 lightsaber and Z270 H4i from Sebastian. And then in a very different note from Maury, we have a review of the Clutch Chairz Throttle Series gaming chair. And that's Chairz with a Z.
How big is the heatsink that he attached to that?
Well, you want to measure his butt, you can do that if you want, I guess. But and that's basically what it is. One of them is transferring heat to the other. You decide which. So this is something Maury picked up for himself and decided to do a write-up on. We have very similar copies of this the whole time, like all over here.
Did he have the same issue that we have?
He did not. At least not initially, not yet.
It does look like it sits kind of low.
Right. Where we didn't have, yeah. Well, let's see.
On the last page, it looks like it sits kind of low.
Yeah, it lists the height as 5'6" to 6'3". No, wait, that's recommended height for a person. So if you're shorter than 5'6" or taller than 6'3", it does not recommend you use this chair. If you weigh less than 170 pounds, it doesn't recommend you use this chair. I've never heard of that before.
Well,
a chair,
then what happens if you wait too?
It bounces you off.
Too little.
It'll launch you into space.
Yeah, it just kicks you out of the chair.
It falls forward.
You go to pull the lever to go up, and it just ejector seats you.
Well, there went Allyn.
Yeah,
it was a good run.
Okay.
Max weight 330 pounds, so I'm safe for now.
I mean,
steel frame.
What was that minimum number again?
170 pounds.
I don't weigh 170.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
So I
You can't use this
chair.
office chair.
You are not. Yeah,
Like I'm just not allowed to buy this chair.
I don't understand. I'd be afraid to put my child in it, I guess. Right? Emmeline only weighs
I
like
can
29
swallow
pounds. Yeah.
They might be worried about, okay, if it's top heavy, you need to have more weight on the chair.
No, because if you stood up, then somehow the chair would fall over.
Yeah,
right?
like the chair would not be able to stand by itself if that were the case.
I don't know.
You can sit on it, but you may never get up from our chair. So it's got some of the standard stuff here: the 40 armrests, the
180 degree reclining. You like that?
Oh yes, the taking a nap in your chair.
Yes.
That might actually be why they have the weight requirement.
That might be the weight requirement right there.
Because it falls back.
If you're too lightweight and you try to do that, you're weighing on your head.
I guess.
No,
I think if you do
physics
that,
doesn't work that way.
Why
Sure
not?
does. You're hanging like way off the back of the chair, like it's.
So a big fat guy, 250 pound, lays back, and he's got all of his mass in his belly and his shoulders.
Well,
and he
but also
doesn't
you got to
fall
assume
over
his
versus
legs are going to be
150
heavier.
pound guy.
no, I mean
His legs are going to be heavier and his butt's going to be heavier too to offset it.
if a guy's top heavy like that, then yes, he is going to tip
shaped
over.
like a pear, you're safe to lean back. Otherwise, but I mean, hey, listen, guys.
If you pick things up and put them down, then you might,
you might get hurt.
You might get hurt. You might fall over.
Also, if you lean back in a chair and you fall over, maybe just don't do that again. Don't lean back quite that far. Right?
It's just
my bed doesn't have a rail on the side anymore
it's
because
like,
I'm an adult
and
I weigh between 170 and 275 pounds.
It's like an automatic. It's like an automatic pile driver, though. If you are top heavy and you just it just like tilts you right back on your head.
Well, yeah, it would. That would be painful. So yes, it does have infinite tilt lock. Lock the tilt function in any position between 0 and 12 inches. So not infinite,
Not
but
quite.
between 0 and 12 inches. It is PU leather. Fake leather.
Yeah.
And then does it mention the height, max height, size, or anything like that? So we don't have to walk through this. If you're interested in these gaming chairs, go through Maury's review. It's interesting. It's a good synopsis.
4-dimensional armrest configuration. It can go into the future.
No, I think the chair that, where's it at? We have
over there.
one of those other chairs.
The gaming ones.
Yeah, they have. I mean, it just means that they rotate as
Yeah,
well. That's the fourth dimension. If you think about it, really, it's just about rotation.
It's time.
Yes, time passes if you sit in them.
These are pricey.
Yeah. How much is it?
$375 from Clutch Chairz.
I mean, that's on
themselves.
par.
But it's still super expensive.
Yeah.
$400 on Amazon with Prime shipping.
I think my Noble was about $320, and it was a good chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say it was, but it is, right?
It still is. I mean, I'm still.
You
See, Noble.
okay with it?
Noble.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, we use ours during our Let's Plays and stuff. I don't dislike the chairs
They
or
don't
style.
go high enough.
But we
they don't
have
go high
issues where
enough.
they don't go high enough.
They're early model chairs that we have, so like
I don't think they've changed really.
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And they're all made by the same two companies in China or some derivative thereof, right? With slight
I'm sure they
tweaks here and
figured out
there,
at some point that, hey,
No,
look,
Noble
you know,
is German, and they build it there. It's a different design.
How high does it go? Do you know?
Oh, gosh.
does it go high enough?
This means literally nothing to me. Because
Does it go high
Higher
enough
than
to
his
where
keyboard
your
tray.
legs are up against the table?
My feet are barely touching the ground.
Okay, yeah. See, the ones here will not do that.
no, they won't.
They
That's
won't.
true.
You go all the way up. Like we tried using them sitting at our desks, just at standard height desks, and like we were kind of like Kilroyed on the desk. Like, what the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So check out that review if you're interested in it. Clutch Chairz Throttle Series gaming chair. There you go. Let's move on to some news items here. We're going to start with the first one, which is the Threadripper 1900X was officially launched last week on August 31st. It became available. It was actually for sale immediately that day. The Threadripper 1900X is the little brother, cousin, whatever you want to call it,
The
of the other
lowest
two
end
parts.
Threadripper?
Yeah, so we had the 1950 and the
Ugly
1920. What's that?
Ugly stepchild.
Maybe. We don't know because they didn't send out any for reviews. We don't actually get to review it yet to see if it is an ugly stepchild. I mean, the general idea is pretty simple, right? The 1900X is 8 cores, 16 threads, whereas you go 16, 12, then 8. But you still get the same 180 watt TDP. It's still quad channel memory, 20 megs of cache. You get the full 64 lanes of PCIe. And although it's not showing up on the damn screen, you get a 4.0 to 3.8, I'm sorry, 3.8 to 4.0 clock speed range, right? So the base clock is actually very high. The base clock of 3.8 is that 200 megahertz higher than the 1800X, I believe? Yeah. Yeah, actually, there it is, right below it. So it's an interesting trade-off, right? Because both the Ryzen 7 1800X and the Threadripper 1900X are 8-core, 16 threads. The differences are that there are still 2 die at work on the Threadripper part.
Mm-hmm.
So you have another layer of separation between half of the core. So you've got two cores per CCX across 2 dies.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Each with half of the memory attached to it.
Correct.
Yep.
Right. So there are going to be instances where the 8-core, 16-thread Threadripper can be slower than the Ryzen 7 1800X in those highly memory latent areas.
Yep.
Right. Now, let me get over here so you guys can see the price on it too. But there is the advantage of the Threadripper is that you have access to significantly higher PCI Express lane counts, 64 instead of 24. You get quad channel memory, so memories that are applications that are very memory bandwidth heavy rather than memory latency heavy. We'll see an improvement in performance.
And you do get the ability to control how the memory thing works. Like you can put it in the NUMA mode if you want to.
And also, I'm curious, right? They're rated at the same 180 watt TDP, even though they have half the cores of the 1950X. I'm wondering if there's any overclocking headroom, although we seem to have hit a hard limit on all Ryzen die of like, what, 4.1, 4.2 gigahertz from with like standard liquid cooling solutions. Now, it has a $559 or $549 price tag compared to $499 of the Ryzen 7 1800X. However, the Ryzen 7 1800X hasn't sold for $499 in quite a long time. It's more around like $430, $440 now, right? So there is a more significant price delta between these two parts.
And especially if you consider the platform.
Yeah, and literally, I was looking this up because I was trying to get a 1900X in for testing. And I was like, okay, let's look at this as what is the cheapest system I could build with this massive amount of connectivity?
Yeah.
And I think the lowest priced X399 board I found was $340 bucks, and that was an Asus X399 Prime A.
That's up there.
Yeah. So it's, it's not a cheap system, but they are out there now. They are available. They were for sale immediately that day. Hopefully we'll have one in relatively soon to do some testing and comparisons. Really curious is just to see, how it compares against the 8-core Skylake-X part. Or the Ryzen 7 1800X, right? And it'll be really curious once Coffee Lake is released in its 6-core parts, how it compares to the 8-core Threadripper 1900X. So things are going to get more interesting before they get less interesting. I can assure you guys of that. All right, let's take a quick break from the show proper to thank today's podcast sponsor. That's right, everybody. It is Casper back again. This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by that very company, Casper. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the cost. They are revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers and showrooms and passing that savings directly to the consumer. The benefits of Casper include obsessively engineered product at a very fair price. They are made of supportive memory foams for a sleep surface with just the right sink and just the right bounce. Plus, its breathable design sleeps cool to help you regulate your temperature through the night, which sounds very important. Regulating of temperature.
Yes.
Don't want to be too hot. Don't want to be too cold. It's a breathable design. Sleeps cool to keep. I literally just read that line right. Casper's mattresses are made in the USA. Buying the Casper mattresses is easy. You order online. It's delivered to your door in a compact, I don't want to say little box, but a compact box. It is dense. It is very dense when you get it. And free shipping, free returns. It's available in the US, Canada, and now in the UK. So that's actually new for our listeners. If you're in the UK, you can now get a Casper mattress there. Risk-free 100-day trial. Considering we spend 1/3 of our lives, hopefully, on a mattress, it's important to truly sleep on a mattress before committing. That's why Casper gives you 100 nights to try it out. You can save an additional $50 towards a mattress purchase by going to casper.com/PCPer and entering the promo code PCPer. That's casper.com/PCPer, promo code PCPer. Terms and conditions do apply, so read up on those. And we thank Casper for their support of the PC Perspective podcast. Now, there's another line of this ad read that I didn't include in the ad proper that I do feel like is necessary for me to read. And I felt like they maybe wrote this one for Josh. It says, your Casper mattress provides the cradled support of memory foam while offering a bouncy surface for sitting or other bedroom activities.
Other bedroom activities, like crocheting.
Right. A lot of bounce is important.
Yeah.
For needlepoint.
Exactly. Calligraphy.
Mm-hmm.
Also important to have a lot of bounce.
Use a lot of bouncing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm. All these things are crucial. Let's get into
Coring apples.
Yeah.
Sure.
Call it whatever you want. So this was interesting. This kind of just cropped up. There is an Intel Skylake-X die shot that was brought forth through, and I'm never going to pronounce this. How do you pronounce the overclocker's name, Ken, who did this? DeBauer?
Well, it's Dare. Like,
Bauer?
Well, like the British, or not the British, sorry, the German.
Like the Bears?
More or less. He spells it with an 8, so I assume that's just the B, right?
DeBauer.
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 Yeah.
So he got his hands on I guess what it was determined is actually a 12-core part, right? But it was part of the 12, 14, 16, 18-core class of Skylake-X processors. And he did the very first thing that you do when you get a brand new part is you delit it.
Sure.
And this is the result. This is what we're looking at here. So this is
it's like the die on a substrate, the substrate on a PCB.
That's true. There is another layer in there.
Yeah.
It sure is.
Huh.
Yeah.
How many? Well, I
do you make of
wish
that?
I'd see the heatsink on that thing too, because that makes
You mean the heat spreader?
putting it all together a little bit more interesting.
Well, I think all the
Skylake-X parts are probably built like this. I think.
Yeah.
Well, actually, here.
they have that interesting lid design where it does kind of like hug the middle more than normal.
So this is a picture of the 10-core die here, which is significantly smaller. And so what the point of these two pictures is, even though they're not from the same angle, they do share the same processor socket size. So you get an idea of the difference in that die capacity going from the 10-core to the 18 up to 18-core derivative.
Okay, well, that makes sense then, because you're going to have a different amount of pins on that die versus scroll down.
You think?
That die but you've got to have a common socket.
Yeah,
you're going to have different power and ground.
Yeah, it looks like
have different pins.
The keying looks the same.
You're going to have different pins on the I guess the correct term is going to be
like BG, like ball grids. Yeah. But
yeah,
I'm curious. Why would you need different? Why would you need different pins? Because the memory channel. Well, okay.
You need more power and
ground. That's going to be the big difference.
It's a different design. You need to interpose to get the pin to get the contacts to where you want them.
Okay.
Exactly.
So there's actually there's a third die to this as well that's not available in Skylake-X. That is the up to 28 core die that exists for the Xeon Scalable.
But that's the
parts. That's the one that looks like the size of the business card.
Yeah.
Processor die. Yeah. Also worth noting is you can tell by the fact that this die is so shiny and clean that Intel's still not using. They're still not soldering the heat spreaders on. They're still using a thermal interface. So. People that were lamenting about that will continue to be able to lament about that fairly, I think, but lament about it nonetheless. Actually, let me look up. I had an email here. Let me see something real fast, where I go quoting numbers that maybe aren't accurate. The approximate die size of the LCC, the low core count die, this one here that I'm showing, is about 300 square millimeters. Okay, this one is approximately 450 square millimeters. How's that compare to like a...
That's a pretty big GPU right there.
Is that like a Pascal
that's
GPU 102
size
style?
It's a 500 millimeter square, about.
Okay, and then the big guy, the XCC, not pictured in this story, is approximately 600 millimeters
Remember
square.
how small these things used to be?
Yeah,
That's some process tech for you.
The old Pentiums and stuff. And
it's all about that. Do you remember Duron? How small Duron was?
Yeah,
I do.
With the exposed die,
cracked dies.
Yeah,
no.
Tiny, tiny.
So then nothing's particularly interesting about this. Like from a review standpoint, we don't have a whole lot of performance numbers yet. But this does indicate that like the launches are pending on this, and also, holy crap, that's a massive. Yeah, it's a massive die. It is interesting to note, so the 18, 16, 14, and 12 cores will all use this die.
I really hope they do better things with their thermal compound. Even if it's not soldered. I just hope they're doing better things.
You just hope it's a better thermal compound?
Whatever they're doing needs to be better than what it was with even the 7700K.
I don't think they're going to change anything.
Which is just when you get...
Not going to change anything.
When you get people that are shifting over to the delitting and shifting to the liquid metal stuff and seeing tens of degrees of a difference.
Yeah. I don't disagree that there is a significant change and that they should do it.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're going to.
It's just like the heat spreader.
They've clearly qualified this process, and they're not going to start changing it over for their $2,000 high-end desktop part.
Well,
I'm
not saying you need a different process. I'm just saying maybe you need better thermal compound or something. Yeah. Something needs to change.
I just don't think there's going to be any changes. Yeah. I don't think they're going to do any of that type of stuff. So I would say don't count on it.
Okay.
That would be my indication. What else do we have? Here's one. Not from PCPer, but I wrote it, so I'm putting it in here anyway.
Market Watch.
This is, so essentially this story, this doesn't really scale as well, does it? There you go, thank you. This story is based around a set of data. So there's a German retailer called Mind Factory, which is about as awesome as a name for a hardware retailer that you could get. Is our YouTube live stream having an issue?
Yeah, it seems like YouTube's having an issue, not on our side.
Okay. Anyway, so they publicly post their sales data, right? And so people have just been keeping track of it and compiling it, right? Yep. And so what's interesting is, I don't think this...
The chart's really hard to read.
There we go. How's that? Is that a little bit better? That's a little bit better. So what you're looking at now is units sold. On the left side of March here is 27.6%. That's the market share of units sold of AMD.
Okay, so the left bar of each pair of bars
is AMD. The right one is Intel.
So all the different weird colors.
And if you look over here, you can actually have a breakdown of each of the SKUs, but the point I was trying to make was more about the totals in this case, right?
And then as you go from left to right there, the left bar
AMD is going up.
Gains ground on the right bar.
27, 36, 42, 47, 48, and then in August, 56.1.
Which is higher.
So that marks
Intel.
the first time in this reseller's history, at least in the last decade or so, that AMD's processors have outsold Intel's processors. And what's interesting is there's a couple of interesting things you can see about it that I didn't write in the Market Watch story because it's just a totally different type of audience. But if you see, like the most popular part, if you see this light, I wish I had an annotation
it's
here.
It's a light green.
I don't know if you can see where I'm touching.
Is that the 1600X?
So that is the 1600, the R5 1600. And you can see its share of that is huge, right? Like it's
that's the biggest part of that. Yeah,
it's the biggest part of their sales because it's like a $220 part. It's 6 cores. It's overclockable to higher frequencies, and it's the darling of kind of like the enthusiast DIY market. Also interesting to note is that the deep purple, which is the Core i7 7700K on the Intel side, is far and away the dominant seller. Like 50% of its units are that part. It's kind of interesting to see that AMD has, like they're selling a significant amount of 1400s, 15, 16, 16X, 1700, 1700X, 1800X, not a whole lot. But they have like a diverse portfolio of parts that people are interested in, right? Whereas Intel was clearly like the 7700K is their bread and butter. Their next one down is the 7600K, right?
And it's not like, it's like the whole market in general, like slightly dipped a little bit, like between May and June from the looks of it, like just overall, like maybe I don't know.
Well, I mean, these are just units sold.
They're all percentages, right?
Oh, yeah,
it's all percentages. You really can't tell. Now, that being said, you can look at, and they also show revenue, and also in August was the first time that AMD's revenue was higher than Intel's. And what I thought was interesting there was, see the deep red at the top of the 54% there for AMD in August? That's the 1950X. That's the Threadripper.
So wait, it's not just percentages. The number on the legend on the left side is the total CPU sold. Right.
Correct.
So so like
$2 million Reich marks.
Yeah.
You're right.
So it's like the market kind of dipped down.
When do you see that?
Like, between April and May, and because you have Intel going down and AMD staying the same.
But you got to see what the total of it is, right? So you're like 8,000 plus 3,000 is 11, but in August you're looking at 7 plus 50
but look
something.
at like
the
36.5% in April, and you barely get a little bit more to get 42.2%.
That's because Intel came down.
Far less.
Yeah, that's true. May was clearly lower.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So like it's like there was a dip, but then as the market climbed back out of it, AMD gained ground faster than Intel did.
Yep. Very true.
And so my point I'm trying to make there is it's not like just August out of the blue, AMD just, it wasn't just like one company bought 4,000 AMD CPUs or something.
Like a gradual.
Yeah, it was a very steady kind of gain on them.
One of the things that I was pointing about the 1950X is if you look at it here, its share of revenue is actually pretty significant considering it was released on August 10th. And if you look at its share of units there, it's very small, but because it's a $999 part,
right,
it's having a pretty good impact. And also note that like the Core i7 7900X revenue is way smaller than the red of the 1950X. Just kind of giving you an indication of the popularity. So actually, this is a better. If you look at units, let me zoom in here. That's as much as I can zoom in. So the red at the top is number of units sold of the 1950X. The white blue hash, which is barely visible up top, the 43.9, that's units sold of 7900X. So Threadripper was clearly outselling 7900X and Skylake-X at that point.
Yep.
Now, I will freely admit that this is one data point from one retailer.
Only from one retailer, yeah.
And I've talked to enough people who know what's going on at Amazon and Newegg here in North America. And this is not my sense from talking with people at AMD, people at motherboard vendors, people at the resellers themselves, Threadripper is outselling Skylake-X.
But you're saying that this is not a corner case? this is more industry wide in retail and resellers?
I'm saying it's the trend is industry wide, but I don't think North America has seen the catch up. Like even AMD in kind of private conversations saying, no, we don't think Ryzen is outselling Core i7 and Core i5 yet, but we're catching up, right? And so they believe they're on that pathway. What will be interesting to me is what impact Coffee Lake has on that, and the anticipation of Coffee Lake, the new 6-core parts for the consumers that will likely be out sometime later this year, and what AMD's response is going to be, right? So now you've kind of awoken the giant. What are they going to do? If a 6-core 8700K comes out and they price it right, you're going to put a lot of pressure on any of those 1800X, 1700X sales that existed today, and maybe even in the bottom of that Threadripper line. We were talking about that 1900X. So very interested to see what happens throughout the rest of the year. But this is just a good sign that things are moving in the right direction.
This is the largest shop in Europe, supposedly.
Okay. I didn't really, honestly, I didn't know much about them. I had heard of them, and I knew that they were a bigger entity. I know think they're the largest in Germany, but I didn't know where they stood in Europe as a whole. But yeah, so it's good news. It's not like suddenly AMD's rolling in the cash and they can start spending. But it's a good indicator for other areas. And keep in mind, this is a place selling components. This is not channel sales, like to SIs or whatever. And actually, one of my other indicators from an outside source was that actually SIs, like your main gears, your cyber powers, those types of SIs, not like Dell, HP, the smaller SIs are seeing more uptick from AMD than even maybe the channel is. So it's potentially good news for them.
Good news for competition.
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, we got in another Threadripper platform here. We're going to build a kick-ass system around. And like, think about a year ago, somebody saying we want to build a high-end
AMD
compute machine. I'm going to use an AMD processor for it. And you're like,
would not have thought that would be the statement.
Actually, Josh, in that story, I did mention that the biggest selling AMD part was the 1600. It had like a $220 selling price.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that compares to, say, a year ago today, or even 6 months ago, like before Ryzen launch, what the best selling in AMD part selling price was? What do you think? I honestly don't know. I'm just kind of looking for. You think it was like $100?
You know, I think there are two real big sellers: the 8230 and the 8250. I think were their top two. 8230 was $100, 110, and then the 8350 it hovered 129 to 139 for that time. So yeah, they've doubled their ASP on their most popular part easily.
Yep. I mean that tells you that if your ASP, your average selling price, is higher, the cost hasn't gone up dramatically, right, for the die itself. So that's also a good sign for the profitability of.
I think actually the cost per die actually went down.
There you go. Yeah, they'll take that, I bet.
SOI 32 nanometer versus pretty big 260 some odd, and now 14 nanometer Ryzen was 130.
Nice.
140. I think.
Before we move on to our next story, we got two Patreon editions. Joshua Hansen has edited their pledge from $5 to $7. Thank you very much, Josh, for that. And Tinker Toy Tech just came on as a pledge as $5. Tinker Toy Tech. $5 pledge. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Okay. Lenovo, we weren't done with the IFA announcements. Lenovo announced the Yoga 920 and 720 2-in-1s featuring the Yoga 920 is their flagship consumer 2-in-1. So that's got the 8th gen quad core Kaby Lake refresh processor that we've talked a lot about last week. So no need to really dive too much into that.
It's the newer version of the laptop you have in front of you. One of the laptops you have in front of you.
Oh, good, because they're asking for this one back, so we can swap that out for the new Kaby Lake R quad core. It has a optional Lenovo Active Pen 2 with 4,096 levels of pen sensitivity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I really do like these machines a lot. Like, I think this is actually a really nice piece of hardware. I feel bad for it that its main duty over the last year has been sitting on my desk and allowing me to do scroll through my own web pages with it. But hey, you know, you do what you're gonna do. Also, they announced these bad boys. Yoga 920s with custom, well, I don't know, not really custom, but with Star Wars insignias on them, an Imperial and a Rebel logo on them. I actually went to Best Buy and saw these, and they're really just kind of like add-ons to the back of it type of thing.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the linoleum type on your counter that you did cheap.
I mean, they're high gloss, and then there's a piece of plastic over it, like
it's
a clear
Gorilla Glass.
Huh?
It's Gorilla Glass.
It's Gorilla Glass over top of it. So I mean, it looks nice, and I would totally, like, if they were going to send one of these instead of a normal one, like, I would totally accept it and have it here with the logo on it for you guys to see for the next 12 months. And
of course, Disney will cancel your, you know.
Yeah, they'll take down the show, I'm sure. Also, I forget who it was in the chat that said, instead of saying yoga, it was probably Jeremy.
It was a commenter.
Was it? Oh, it should say Yoda.
Yeah.
In the corner.
The Yoda 920.
For clarification, the ones you can buy today are the Yoga 910 with those designs, but they said they will ship the 920 when the 920 comes out.
Oh, so the ones I saw at Best Buy were the
910s.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. I mean, I didn't buy one, so it's fine.
You bought two.
Oh, yeah. No, not really. All right, starting price $1,329. The Yoga 720 starting price $649. The Yoga 720 is the compact 12-inch, different processor, platform, all that type of stuff too. So there was the ending of our IFA 8th gen processor announcements, if you will. Real quick, we're gonna bring this up, if only because we have a review pending on this for a while. The HP S700 Pro 1 terabyte hard drive. This is a review over at Benchmark Reviews. We won't need to click over there or look at it or anything like that.
They have a S700 Pro, and I think the other one's just S700.
Yes, it's just Pro and non-Pro.
Yep.
Various capacities, SATA drives, anything standard.
They're okay. They're okay performing SATA drives.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
What does that mean in today's world to be okay performing?
I mean, they're
because it's like you've got, what's your top? 850
Evo.
Evo is like the top.
Yeah, these are not going to be faster than an 850 Evo.
Yeah, but like,
they'll be reasonably close.
Pretty close.
You know, you're talking like, you know, say 70 or 80% of the performance, roundabout. You know.
Okay.
But
are there other drives faster than this that aren't the 850 Pro? Probably.
I'd have to put it in charts and try to compare. There's not a lot of drives faster than the 850 Pro, and 850 Pro is kind of like usually a
Pro
decent
or
step.
Evo?
Or sorry, 850 Evo.
Yeah.
Even they're both basically the same for SATA. But yeah, that just the combination of that controller and the flash in that particular model just still, just, you know, embarrasses a lot of all the other SATA stuff.
These use 3D NAND, 570 megs reads, 525 megs writes for the 1 terabyte variants. So we'll follow up with more on that.
Yep.
More on that later. It's an interesting thing seeing HP on it because it's probably not like HP proper.
HP proper kind of didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah, like it's just
like
kind of like
a
branding.
It's like they have a separate. It's from no doubt. It's from a part of HP, right? I mean, it's not like, you know, just some random company down the street's going to slap HP on the thing.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously they could put their logo on it and get away with that, you know, legally, right? But it's like, you know, yeah, not like HP proper,
right?
You know, it's like they have a little storage subdivision somewhere, and those guys decided to put an SSD out.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Gigabyte released a GTX 1080 Mini ITX 8 gig card. Of course, it's 8 gig card. It's GTX 1080. 17 centimeters in length only. retaining the dual slot design, but it is not, I believe, Ken, you can correct me on this, it is not a 2-slot plus. It is a legitimate 2-slot.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to put yourself into a Mini ITX chassis, you kind of don't have any choice.
Yeah, better well be.
Right. Yeah. Still got that DVI output, which I'm a fan of. Not a whole lot of 1080. Wait, did 1080s do have? Yeah, 1080s.
Yeah, the 1080 reference does.
If you look at that shroud, it's really close to what you would consider plus.
Yeah, it's kind of like right there at that edge, isn't it?
I don't think you could I don't think you could take two of these and put them SLI side by side.
No, and these are, like I said, these are meant for Mini ITX systems where a single GPU is all you're really looking for anyway.
Yeah. Now, I will say, sometimes it's kind of cramped trying to get even a 2-slot GPU into a Mini ITX system, depending on, the orientation in the case and whatnot.
It has an OC mode where it's rated at 1771 megahertz boost, which is pretty good. Gigabyte also sells GTX 1070 and GTX 1060 models in this kind of form factor, but it's nice to see a 1080 in there. Ken, you were saying earlier that like Zotac has these kind of available already, and do they also have a 1080 Ti?
They do. This Gigabyte,
it's a little longer than this, though.
Yeah, the Gigabyte is smaller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's nice. The GTX 1080 Mini from Zotac is a 2-fan, I believe. I at least know the 1080 Ti is a 2-fan configuration.
Which also makes it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Than this one.
I do think this is kind of a tall card, I guess it's always difficult to describe that one dimension. It's not long, it's not thick, but it's tall.
Height over the, and they don't really show that. Like so we're talking about this.
Yeah, I saw some photos that
here.
cooler's kind of tall, so you might run into some clearance issues in some cases.
It's always, I mean, and in reality, anytime you're building a Mini ITX system in a very cramped Mini ITX case, you have to be cognizant of this type of stuff, from CPU cooler to your GPU cooler, all that stuff comes into play. So very neat. Hey, speaking of this small form factor crap, I haven't heard any more else about that Vega Nano, have we?
Nope.
Weird.
Nope. Huh.
It's almost like they don't have any GPUs to allocate to that.
Yeah. I mean, they would need to sell it at a premium.
Even hitting the price point where Vega Nano is going to do would be a little tough.
Yeah, they never announced pricing or anything of that, did they? I don't think they ever.
I mean,
actually
the Fury Nano was the same way. It just kind of showed back up, from what I remember. Like, it was significantly after the
but they
Fury
did like
X
a launch target with that. They did reviews of it and all that type of stuff. Yeah,
like I think they were radio silent on it for a good while.
Well, we'll see. Obviously, we're still waiting for that market to settle down anyway.
Yeah.
Jeremy's not here, but he did write this up before he. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
this is yesterday.
The whole Superfish thing is I think it's done now, basically.
Court decided that as this was Lenovo's first offense, they would not be fined. Instead, they have only been asked to follow procedures that most would assume they already had to.
Yeah, so they have to give clear notice to customers of any data collection or ad serving programs bundled on their laptops, and get consent before the software is installed. And they're also doing an ongoing ordered to do is conduct security audits for the next 2 decades. Yep.
And to notify users of the existence of pre-installed software. Just imagine telling a company for the next 20 years you are going to do this thing.
Yeah.
20 years, man. We can't plan 20 weeks. Are you serious?
Well, it's not about planning. It's just a thing you got to do for the next 20 years. It's like they're on, what's that thing? Probation.
Right. That's true.
Probation.
Yeah.
What court was this?
Security probation.
Was this a European court or an American court that did this?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Or like a Chinese court. Is the Slashdot story even mentioned? Let's see.
It was a Canadian court, and they had to say they're sorry.
FTC. So it was a US agency involved. Okay. FTC's indictment. So there you go. Yeah. Speaking of this, inserting ads into even HTTPS protected web pages. Where was I at? I was at the Intercontinental in LA during SIGGRAPH.
Right.
I think that's where I was at. Yeah. And
you were on their Wi-Fi?
I'm on their Wi-Fi, and I'm browsing a web page on my phone, and a little pop-up comes up and says, "What do you think of our service? Rate us 1 to 5 stars." Like a little
-1 star.
pop-up. And I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?
-1.
Are you doing this?" And they did it on my main machine too.
So they were interjecting a pop-up
Yes, it popped up into it. Now, I will say, after I saw it the second time, I kind of was keeping track, and I don't think I ever saw it on a secure site. Right, so on HTTPS.
It shouldn't be possible.
Well, yeah.
Unless they spoof their own HTTPS server and then
Which is what Superfish did. Well, it was an invalid cert.
They would have to do what Superfish was doing.
Why do I have to hit advanced link in my browser to go to this HTTPS site that I've always had to go to, and just showed right up?
Yeah. Yep. Seems odd. Anyway, don't like it. Another news post here, Aorus X5 V7 gaming laptop with G-Sync and overclocking capability. What is this? So this is a new gaming laptop, 15.6-inch screen, IPS display, pre-installed color scheme, and available in either 2880 by 1620 or 4K. Though the GTX 1070 it contains may have some performance issues at that resolution. So it has the high-end 7820HK quad-core Kaby Lake processor in the GTX 1070. This is not a Max-Q design, I don't think.
Doesn't look like Max-Q.
Is it? It's kind of thin. But yeah, I'm not really sure on it.
So I'm trying to figure out if the refresh goes higher on the lower resolution screen, but
it may not.
Doesn't seem to. You'd think it would because,
The unit that the tech report looked at had a pre-installed 256 gig PCIe NVMe SSD with an empty M.2 2280 slot for future upgrading. 16 gigs of DDR4 2400, 2 USB 3.1 Type-C ports, one of which supports Thunderbolt 3.
16 gigs in a modern gaming laptop. That's amazing.
It's really a USB 3.1 Type-C port and a Thunderbolt 3 port. But what was that, Ken?
Is it only 16 gigs of system RAM in a modern gaming laptop? That's amazing. They usually ship with 32, which is way too much.
I don't understand why that's the case. The last two gaming laptops we've had have had 32 gigs of system
It's usually
memory.
like 24 or 32, which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know if they're... I don't know if people seem to believe that there's some inherent benefit to having more system memory on a notebook for some kind of efficiency reason or whatever, or if it's just like, you're probably never going to upgrade this.
Well, this is a $3,000 computer, so...
It used to be so that you wouldn't swap to the really slow laptop hard drive as often, but that was
now you have PCIe SSDs. Yeah. I don't know. So that review is actually over at the Tech Report, so check that out if you are interested there. In our last news story is where we play like the taps or something like that. We didn't cue any sound effects up. But Intel has finally end-of-lifed the Core i7 6700K and the Core i5 6600K, as well as some other parts I'd never really heard of. End-of-lifing the Skylake consumer desktop processors.
RIP 6098P.
That's right.
My favorite.
The 6098P Core i3 was probably my favorite all-time Intel processor.
So they were still making those, huh?
They're still making them because the product discontinuance program support begins yesterday. Now it does say product discontinuance demand to local Intel representative is due by December 8th, 2017. That's probably a typo, and that should be 2017. I don't think you get 1,000 years on this. But the last order date is March 30th, 2018, and then the last delivery date, shipment date, is September 7th, 2018. So they'll still be shipping them for another year. So as I wrote in here, it kind of gives you an idea of how convoluted like an EOL system is for a company like this who's making processors that go into consumer machines, business machines, enterprise machines, embedded systems, where they've guaranteed lifespan to these customers.
I mean, there's still...
It's impressive.
At least recently, in the past couple of years, they're still fabbing 486 processors because they're mission-critical computers in applications like government and military that need those processors.
And NASA.
Yeah. I did write at the end that this was like... I said it marks the end of an interesting window of time for Intel where it had clear and uncontested dominance of the consumer processor market. Rereading my conclusion to the 6700K review reveals almost no mention of a relevant AMD competing part.
Yeah.
Making today's situation with Ryzen and Threadripper all the more impressive. And I do think that's really the case. Like this was, when this processor launched, it was, the whole story was, oh man, is Intel going to be able to have enough performance to warrant an upgrade over the other Intel processor you almost assuredly have installed in your system?
So is this starting the end-of-life process on this particular part like sooner than, say, the prior?
I don't know the answer to that.
Like maybe Intel
like Haswell or something.
Like maybe Intel is like, holy crap, now there's competition. We gotta
I don't think so. I mean, when did the 6700K launch?
It launched in 2015.
Yeah.
August 2015. So it's been over 2 years since it launched.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're going to ship it for another year. It maybe seems a little bit window. Quick, but keeping in mind that now Kaby Lake is not just here, like the 7th gen, but we're already welcoming in the 8th gen, you know, the 8000 series. Like you want to limit what your responsibilities are going into the future. If suddenly you have 4 or 5 generations all being in production that you haven't EOL'd yet,
right?
You're responsible for those.
Yeah, you need to transition that line over to some new line or whatever.
Yeah. But I do find
they need to free up the solder heat spreader thing, so they can use it on the
the solder heat spreader to the die machine was being used by this. Yeah, you're right. Right.
No, that machine has been used since like the 3770.
Oh darn!
I haven't soldered a CPU in a
It was a good
long
thought.
time. Well,
it was a good thought.
They did solder the ESQ parts before.
It was a good thought. All right, so I guess that's it for our news and crap today already. Feels like it went quick. I accept it. We'll move on with that. Let's get into our hardware software picks of the week. Mine is a video game for not PC.
Okay.
I know. This is Mario Kingdom Battle, a.k.a. Mario and Rabbids.
What do you play it on?
Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
It is... let's see. Ken, help me describe this. It is a strategy turn-based.
It's XCOM Lite with Mario characters.
XCOM for babies with Mario characters.
Yeah. So your daughter's playing it?
No, I'm definitely the one playing it. XCOM for babies like me. And it's really simplistic. Like your percentages, you're either going to hit that guy 100%, 50%, or 0% of the time. Right? Okay. But you have, the action moves are you can, if you land on your teammate, you can get a jump kick forward. If you walk through your enemy, you do like a slide tackle and you can still move and shoot from a different... It is turn-based. Yeah, it's turn-based like XCOM. But it uses Mario characters, and Mario has a gun. So
it's got dumb bunnies.
Mario has a gun.
The dumb bunnies come around.
It looks like a portal gun.
It's more like the Mega Man gun.
Oh.
Than anything.
Actually, it does look like the Mega Man gun.
It kind of looks like the Buster, doesn't it? Peach has a gun. You have Rabbid Peach here, which is essentially, they call it cosplay. I call it cross-dressing, whatever you want to do. They've got Rabbid Mario, Rabbid Luigi, who is a special character.
Dumb bunnies. They're dumb bunnies.
It's pretty fun. It's pretty good so far, though. Ken, did you play this?
Did you buy it?
You didn't buy it yet? Yeah. It's gotten pretty good reviews. It is again, it has like a tech tree. It has some light, not really platforming, but puzzle stuff as well. But it's really about the turn-based style of it. Also, it's very unique because it presents the Mario characters in a very unique fashion that they haven't really before. Like they say the word hell in the game.
Really?
They make a joke about a Goomba wiping its butt with like a spray of water bidet style thing, because this is the character of the rabbits. Like this is their personality.
They like the poop jokes.
Yeah. They're like that kind of. They're totally
very
characters.
Child friendly.
Poop jokes are totally child friendly.
Yeah, I mean it's
with a bidet involved.
It's not really a bidet. Like there's a Goomba who's being sprayed from the bottom by a fountain, and the joke is I think like his backside has never been so clean or something to that effect, right? Right, so you laugh.
Okay.
And so that's the rabbit humor in it, but it's interesting to see that mixed in with Mario, which has never really had any of that type of any of that.
I was wrong. It's the Raving Rabbids.
Yeah, it's not rabbits. It's Rabbids. R-A-B-I-D. R-I-B-B-I-D-S. Yes. So if you have a Switch, it's worth checking out. On Amazon, it's now $49, so it went down another $5. Ken, if you want to pick it up. Doesn't Amazon do that thing where like it's like 15% if you pre-ordered it or something, I guess?
It's like pre-order or within a couple of weeks of release, but since they have it $10 off, I don't think they're doing that.
Okay. All right. So check that out. I thought it's pretty interesting. I don't play my Switch very often, but that's the one, like, if I'm laying in bed and my wife is asleep, I can like play that and not disturb anybody, wife, child, whatever. So take a look at that if you have a Switch, which I continue to be impressed with. I saw 2 people playing them on my flight home from LA last time. Although, to be fair, one of them was playing Zelda, and then as I was like, oh, that's cool. And then, of course, that's what he's playing because it's a Switch, and that's what you do. He had a Zelda messenger bag as well, like the Triforce logo across.
Just taking it seriously.
Okay, all right. Well, clearly I knew who I was getting in for. Getting in more now. All right. Jeremy's not here, so we'll jump straight to Josh. What do you got for me?
Why would you want to do that?
I don't really have a choice. You're just next on the list.
Well, that's good. So anyway, on our last jaunt to England, I picked this up for $20.
Oh, hold on. Let me click
and it's a solid converter.
All right.
It's got everything you need.
Is this Conair the hairdryer company?
Exactly.
Oh, I thought it was the Nick Cage movie.
So it's not a transformer, right? Like, I don't think it needs to be a transformer anymore because stuff will just
It's just a physical plug adapter, right?
Yeah, I think so.
No, it gets hot. It transforms.
Getting hot does not equal transforms.
Oh, okay. Well,
it also has USB port in there, so there's a power supply in there.
Yeah, okay.
Right,
It's not a transformer going from...
Yeah, like it might not
might
not convert 220 to 110 or something, but like...
That's usually something that requires like a fan in the
They're
device
usually
to
quite
do.
big and heavy.
Most phone chargers and
So
laptop chargers and everything else you're going to plug into that can run all the way up to 220 anyway. So
for $20 though, it looks like it's you. So, yeah, how many things can you plug in on chargers?
Go to like the third or the bottom picture.
Yeah, that one. It's got 3 plugs.
That is a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All the ones I have, Josh, are single plug, like single plug to single plug. Yeah. And sometimes if I'm thinking ahead, I will bring like a power splitter, like a surge protector with me as well. And that just feels really stupid. You have to bring with you in a suitcase.
Well, this one there's 2 extra pieces you have to carry if you're going to go to.
But don't they all packs together, right, Josh?
Well,
like this. Those are the 2 extra pieces.
So on the back, there's different plugs for Japan, South America, Australia, New Zealand. You got the Southern Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asian, Caribbean, 100 to 240 volt AC, 10 amp.
But if you need to plug that unit into
Great Britain, Ireland, Africa, Hong Kong, Singapore.
Yes, we know the countries. Yes, they exist.
If you need to plug that unit into the other sizes, you'll have to take one of those blue pieces.
Yeah.
And move it to the back in order to be able to plug it in.
That's what I did with, you can look here. So I do the back, right?
Yep. Yeah,
you got those. And you go and take the UK and you pop it in there and you plug it in.
Right.
And you've got all of your...
Do you still have the one on the bottom?
No, that's the one I took off.
That's what I'm saying.
And this one never is active.
No, in the picture
active.
It says it's active.
Oh, it is active. It is active when it's in Japan, South America, Australia, and New Zealand.
Okay.
But if you go anyplace else, then
So you might have to give up one of the outlets, but
I got you. But you still get 2.
Yeah.
Which is great. So whichever one of the purple pieces you're using, you might have to adapt, but you still get access to 2 plus the USB port.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it works. Didn't start any fires as compared to what everybody else said in chat.
I would say 4 out of the last 5 times I've traveled internationally, I've forgotten one of these adapters, and I have to go down to the front desk at the hotel and I say, hey, I'm a dumb American, and I forgot the adapter. I assumed everybody was civilized and we all use the same plugs. Can I please borrow one of your adapters? And they're always like the ones that somebody has left behind as well. And they're all like super loose in the socket and things maybe plug in, but you have to like bend the cable back a little bit so the pieces make the right contact with it. Like I'm definitely going to die in a fire in this hotel. This is clearly going to happen. This seems like a better option. Travel smart by Conair.
Just that picture looks like a fire hazard on its own anyway.
It kind of does, to be fair. It kind of does. Yeah, but I'm sure it's safe. What could go wrong? All right. Allyn, Allyn, what do you got for me?
All right, so I move a lot of files and folders and stuff around.
Okay.
Right? So say you had a big, file server, right?
Right.
And then you had all your stuff on there, and you had certain folders that were dated certain things. If you add a file to a folder, that folder date updates,
yes,
right?
I have this happen to me all the time.
Sure. And then you could just look at the dates of the folders in the root directory and know like what was updated the most recently. Like inside this folder was the newest one or whatever, right? Well, now you say you make another array and you move all your stuff over.
They've all been modified.
All the folders are now today.
Yeah. It sucks.
It sucks. So this is a tool called FolderTimeUpdate, and you point it at the root. You point it. Listen, this is a pain in the butt to do.
No, I'm with you.
To do normally.
I understand.
Right?
Tell me what it does.
So you just point it at the root of that drive.
Yeah.
And you just tell it to start, and it just goes through and it looks in all the directories and finds the most recent modified file time of the file within the directory and sets the directory's file modified time to that same number.
Okay. So it depends on the files still having the same.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
But the end result is that your directories will be dated and timed as if you had been using that array from the beginning, right? So in other words,
I thought I had seen situations where when you do that copy, the files also take a new time as well, like a new modified time.
If you move them,
they do not.
It's different.
If you copy them.
Moving
is so risky. Why would you, I just want to copy things.
Well, I mean, they kind of changed it with the more recent version of Windows, so you can just you can copy. I usually do a sync.
Copy with traits?
I usually do a syncing program, or if you do RoboCopy, I think you can set it so that it's,
takes those characteristics.
Take the attributes. Okay. Yeah, I think there's command line stuff. But even with those methods, the directories, dates, and times will still be wrong.
Yep.
Right.
I'm with you.
So,
first released in June of 2015. No, I'm sorry. That was Arabic. That's not the first release. That's just the release.
This one. So here's what's funny. This guy makes another tool that's like a context menu based, mass file date time changer tool. Like you can offset everything by an hour or something, like your time zone change, and you cared about picture dates.
Yep.
Or something, whatever. I got to go back and look through my email because I think I emailed this guy that made the other tool, who's the same guy, years back, asking if he could do something like this with his other tool.
Got it.
And I couldn't find the email that I sent to anybody. I was trying to find, I know I emailed somebody, that had a tool that already did modifications to. So I don't know. Maybe I might have been
not a whole lot of use. Here's what I hate about it. This is something you install on your computer. You run one time.
Yeah, it's not an installer. It's just an executable sitting in a zip.
It's just for me. It would sit in my downloads folder until I formatted that drive.
You just run it, and not only that, but it's the kind of thing you're only really gonna run it once,
right?
On that thing, right? I migrated my file server over a couple of years ago to a new array, and I still had a bunch of
Works on Windows 2000.
Yeah. But I still had if you went into the root, there were still plenty of directories, and the date and time was when I did the migration.
Right.
And I was like, it would have been nice if, they actually followed. If you go into your backups folder and you're trying to figure out what was the most recent backup that's sitting in there in a folder or something, and it's a pain in the butt because all the clock got reset on everything when you migrate over. So that's handy.
Alex, you've got one for us.
I do.
What do you got?
This is actually it's a website and a web app. It's a chronometer. Depends how you pronounce it.
Sure.
Dieting stuff. Sucks.
Chronometer.
I hate it.
Chronometer. Sorry.
Thank you, Josh. It's your standard calorie counting app, but it's a little more detailed. You can break down onto various micros, macros, all that fun stuff. It really kind of stands out if you're doing some kind of alternative diet, paleo, all that stuff, because you can actually set all those requirements in there as well. The website's free. The app's $3, I think. You can upgrade to the Pro version, for $35 a year, but I've never had a use for that yet.
Is it just ad free or something?
It removes the ads and adds some features. Like there's a what can I eat to finish this day out kind of thing. It adds, and it adds more reporting. But it's like I don't care about reporting. I just care about tracking.
Sure.
So like that's the breakdown report you had up at the very beginning there.
Cool.
Top of the window. So I've been pretty happy with it.
All right. I like that idea. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for us this week. This has been the PC's Perspective podcast. You can find all of our show notes, our links, picks of the weeks, downloads, RSS, videos, all that crap at PCPer.com/podcast. We thank you guys for hanging out in our live stream. If you did so, if not, maybe try joining us next week. You never know what exciting stuff will happen. All right, everybody, that's going to be it for this week. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Al Momentano. Sorry. I was waiting for a Jeremy, and I heard a Josh. And I was
but
confused.
you go after
everybody.
Josh.
Well, I know.
We're not doing it again. That's the end.